Hi, I'm Jack Mabley, the Vice President of Housing and Community. Today we have councillor candidates from Greens, Conservatives, Labour and Lib Dems, all answering questions asked by you about the local council elections coming up.
Hi, I'm Bridget Jones. I'm a local councillor for Selly Oak and I'm standing for re-election as a Labour candidate. Before that, I used to study physics at the university, graduated in 2009, and I used to work at the Guild of Students as well as a Vice President for Education. Most important thing in Selly Oak for me is housing. So that's making sure students have somewhere safe and secure and affordable to live during their time at university.
My name's Colin Green. I'm a Liberal Democrat, a community activist and a software engineer. I've lived in Birmingham for 15 years now and I love it. It's a great city that's tragically misrun by the council. The three things that I hear on the doorstep more than anything else are protecting libraries, cleaning the streets and restoring green waste collections, and those are the three things that I want to achieve as a councillor.
Hello, my name is Monica Catherine Hardy. I'm married, I have 3 children, 2 unofficial teachers, and I'm a nurse by background. I have a lot of experience in the community. This would be my 3rd time standing as a local councillor. Last time, in spite of being defeated, I have continued to be actively supportive to the residents of Selly Oak. What I see as priority is that I would like to work closely with the guilds and of students here in Selly Oak.
I've been a member of the Green Party since 2002 when I was a student at Birmingham Uni. Got involved with politics through the Guild here and then through NUS. Since then I've been working for the trade union movement, so I've got a lot of very relevant experience in terms of getting people involved and in terms of kind of building grassroots movements rather than necessarily relying on your existing structures and all that kind of thing. Locally, I think the key sort of priorities that we've got really are around engagement in terms of getting lots of people registered, getting involved. The most important thing really is that people vote rather than particularly how they vote kind of thing. Well, obviously I have a bit of a view on that as well. But then also it's about safety, being around the place, and also people's quality of life in general.
So, having graduated not too long ago myself, I'm still pretty connected to the student community. It's really important that students' views are heard in Selly Oak because students are so transient. Quite often people don't think to consult with them on things, so I spend a lot of my time making sure that just the student voice gets heard by people making decisions.
Right, it's about being approachable and contactable. And in the 21st century, that means social media and email. I'm available on Twitter and Facebook and have been for a number of years. And if people want to contact me, I'm there and ready. I think the 2 big issues for students are quality of housing and road landlords. And I'd like to see a register of approved landlords where landlords can be disapproved if they break a code of conduct, so that students can be confident that an approved landlord is a decent landlord.
Well, first of all, the changes is to get Selly Oak cleaned up. That's what I see as a big priority.
Well, I mean, the key thing, of course, is listening to people. It's about having an awareness that actually, despite the way people, certainly in my day, were often treated as students where your views ignored because you're only here probably for a few years, actually you're still residents here, even though you're able to vote here and in your home sort of area. If you're not from Birmingham, then it's really important to listen, to take those views on board, because you've got just as much right as anybody else to have your view heard. So I think, it would be things like local surgeries, meeting people, probably liaising with the Guild as well as the sort of recognised body that represents students as well.
So Selly Oak's come a long way in the last few years. 5 years ago, it was the burglary capital of Birmingham, if not the UK. That's massively come down in recent years due to hard work by the police and other community organisations and the Guild of Students. What we need to do now, though, is tackle the growing problems of mugging and robbery, because that is a growing issue with students. So again, we need to carry on working with the police and with the Guild to see what we can do to bring that down.
That is a big issue. Birmingham is the safest of Britain's core cities, and Selly Oak ward generally is a very safe ward. But Bournebrook is a notable hotspot. The area between Bristol Road and Exeter Road has a particularly high crime rate. And it's antisocial behaviour, mostly students themselves, but also theft and violent crime, and we have to do something about this. The biggest of those three are laptops and mobile phones. Everyone knows students have them. Students walk down the street with a phone in their hand and it just says, "Snatch me." In the same way, students live 8 and 10 to a house and they have a laptop each, and an opportunist burglar can steal £1,000 worth of laptops on the second-hand market in minutes. The students' union, the university and councillors between them need to talk to the students every year, the new intake of students every year, and explain the difficulties and the 2 simple things you can do to prevent it. Keep your phone in your pocket when you walk, keep your laptop hidden away at home.
Well, what I'll do there is I'll work closely with the police because locally we've got lots of pubs and takeaway shops. So basically I'll be letting myself known and hold surgeries and work closely with the guilds of students.
Absolutely. I think the big thing is it's actually more of a funding thing than anywhere else. I think if we were able to kick back on some of the funding cuts that we're seeing, then police would be much more able to investigate reports of any crimes that go on, and to an extent probably more able to be visible on the streets, which is a more visible deterrent. I'd much sooner see a human present who's able to make a judgment about what's going on than, say, more CCTV or anything like that. I think that kind of personal interaction is really important.
Fly tipping and illegal building work are big issues in Selly Oak. Illegally built houses aren't safe for students to live in. They often have damp and mould problems, and that can lead to health problems as well as ruining your clothes and your possessions. So a lot of my time is spent in combating illegal building. What comes with illegal building is fly tipping. A lot of our fly tipping is done by the builders, dumping their stuff on the pavements afterwards. So we spend a lot of time chasing them and clearing up their mess.
Fly tipping is a problem across the city since we've had bulky rubbish collections cut, and I'd like to see those reintroduced. In particular, building is a problem in Bournebrook. I've had a number of residents contact me about building without planning permission or building beyond planning permission. I've talked to the council about this and tried to address it, and they say nice things, but they rarely do anything. And I want to be on the council so that I have more muscle to enforce planning law.
Fly tipping in Selly Oak has worsened, and since the Labour Council took control, they foolishly cut the bulky waste collection, which under the Conservative alternative budget retained. The Labour Council is planning to reduce control on the planning further. This won't help with the illegal infill buildings, and I would fight to strengthen planning controls to prevent the overcrowded infill buildings.
Well, they're both hazards to health, aren't they? So they're going to impact on people's ability to just get on and do their daily stuff. The fly tipping, again, that's a funding issue in terms of the environmental health officers not having the funding or the means to investigate these things. It's relatively straightforward between CCTV and documents that you might find in whatever waste has been left to work out who's been dumping the stuff. But as a city, we're really bad actually at chasing that up and about sort of investigating it and dealing with it. So that needs sorting out. Likewise, these sort of illegal building works is a problem. I know I lived in any number of terrible houses that were damp and gave me all kinds of terrible asthma and all that kind of thing. And it's because there's no enforcement, it's because there's no investigation. The planning department of the council has been cut and cut and cut, and that means they don't have the resources to investigate what's going on. They can't do any enforcement work, and that's what we need to be looking at, is reversing public sector cuts.
No, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it'll affect people in Selly Oak too much because landlords are desperate for students to rent their properties. However, it does put another unnecessary barrier in the way. It's hard enough being an international student as it is. Putting another barrier in the way, I don't think is the right way to go.
On first look, this looks terrible, but it's not as bad as it sounds. Landlords, all they have to do is check that you have the right documents and keep them on file so that if your documents expire, they know. It's no more onerous than asking a car hire firm to check that you've got a valid driver's licence. It's not that bad a job. But provided you have a permit to rent or an EU birth certificate, then you're fine. It's just a case of, have you got the document? Yes, you have. I'll take a photocopy, please. It needn't be any more involved than that.
Well, I know that this is a really big issue at the moment in this country. So my concern is that the residents of this country are being served less, well, because of the high levels of illegal immigration caused by a previous government failure to protect our borders properly. So this pilot scheme is worth a try as a means of helping to protect our citizen services. So basically, there is a fine of around £3,000. So landlords and agency must do the right thing. One of the ways is to pass certain responsibility onto the public themselves, and this seems one which is worth trying. So there is less government money around, so therefore the public service are having to work out how to make their services work more smartly so they can continue to provide the services.
No, absolutely not. Same way I didn't think it was fair that your university lecturers were asked to do the same a few years ago either. I think the key thing is here that much as we might have views about the UK Borders Agency and how heavy-handed or light-handed they ought to be, people like landlords who may well have a personal dispute with you have got no business and no training engaging in really important work on this sort of thing. If the government says we have to have a particular view on immigration, well, all right, that's the democratically elected government's view, but certainly it shouldn't be in the hands of just private citizens to implement in this way. They shouldn't be made agents of the state in that fashion.